And for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trinh, the one show, maybe the only show, that tries to explain the complicated questions on all of our minds about health. How do we stay that way? With the man who's always healthy and got a healthy opinion on everything as well. Dr. Trinh, welcome, sir.
Good morning. I'm not sure I'm always healthy, but close.
You always have a healthy opinion on things. You're always a positive, happy, healthy person here. I appreciate that here. So many others in the world are raging against the dying light, to quote the late poet Dylan Thomas.
All right.
All that.
Alan is in the waiting room.
He's in the waiting room. Let's let him in.
Yes.
Well, before we let him in, let's just tell everybody who he is. We're welcoming in. Today we're going to talk water and all things water. Water is so critical to our body and to our health. We're going to hear from one of the people at one of the many water boards and districts, Alan Manour. So let's bring him in and get your water questions ready here as we learn how to handle some stuff. There he is. He's walking in.
Hey, Alan.
Now, I'm Paul Roberts. I think we've met. I think you came into the City Square once when we did the City Square years ago. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you were on one of our shows a long time ago. Oh, he's unmuted. You're unmuted. I don't know if you can hear us, but you've got your speaker muted.
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Oh, good. All right.
And Paul, what was your last name?
Paul Roberts, and I own the station here, OC Talk Radio, and produce this show and some others. And one of them I produced for a number of years was when they did it here, the City Square, Association of California Cities, OC. And I thought you were on one of their shows with Jerry Amonte and all that years ago. Maybe.
I may have done that a long time ago. You know, I'm so popular. Everybody wants me,
That's
and
clear.
I can't keep track of all the shows.
You know, that's
done,
clear. You've got an audience behind you. You're probably 50 people in the room waiting to hear what you're going to say here. I can tell. Let's start by explaining to people, and I know this is going to take a moment, so I'm going to start first here. Today we're going to talk about water, and this is a health show. So we principally want to talk about how we handle our water here in Southern California, how we make sure it's safe. You know, most people, when we used to do some water shows, the sad reality is, as long as I turn the tap on and the water comes out, end of discussion. I don't think about how it gets here. I don't worry about how it gets here. And as long as it comes out, everything's good. But you guys go through enormous hoops. This is a very wild labyrinth of systems that are in place here, some of which seem very confusing and antiquated to me, that bring us water here in Southern California. So let's start with some explanation, a quick overview on your part, because I know you're running for one of the water boards here locally, or I know you've served on them before.
Let's start with who is Alan.
Yeah, let's start that, and then let's talk about, explain to us the ecosystem of water boards in Southern California. Oh, he got unmute again. He didn't want to give us an answer. The question was too long. He cut us off.
I muted it because my kids are right here. They just had breakfast.
That's okay.
Perfectly fine.
And so
disclosure. Before we introduce you, then
Dr. Trinh, my kids, they want to say hi.
Introduce your kids, then. Introduce your kids. Who are they?
Avalon Jane, Josh Dayton. Come here. Okay. I'll go from oldest to youngest.
Okay.
My daughter Avalon Jane.
Hi, Avalon Jane.
Hi, Avalon James. What a cool name. You're named after an island.
Wow.
Actually, it's more than that. Avalon is the mystical home. Avalon, isn't Avalon the mystical home in the Knights of the Round Table and all that stuff at King Arthur's court?
Well, I'll give you a riddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
She came home from someplace that she had never been to. Where was that?
Let's see. Where in the world is Waldo? That's what we're playing here. Where she went someplace she'd never been before. Avalon. She'd probably never been to Avalon.
No. She came back from someplace that she never went to.
Oh, I see. She came back from someplace that she never went to. Oh, wow, that's a riddle.
Someplace that she never went to.
I can't even. You got my mind blown this morning.
Her name.
Okay, riddle me this. I don't know. Tell us the answer, Avalon Jane.
I'll tell you. She never went to Avalon with us, but she came home because that's where she was conceived.
It was a one-way trip for her. She didn't ride over on the boat, but she came back. Okay.
Oh my word! Oh my word! Well, I want to see. Then what's your son's name? Where did he go?
Well,
he's under the table.
They each have two first names. They each have a story behind their name. But I
want to hear it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Avalon Jane is a compilation of some family names: Jan, Ann, Annette, and I liked Avalon Jane. Is kind of like Yosemite Sam, kind of rootin' tootin'.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
So,
Yosemite Sam, I like that.
On, this is Joshua Dayton.
Joshua Dayton.
Like Joshua, yeah, Joshua, and then Dayton from the Daytona 500 because
he was conceived in a race car.
He was actually born in the car.
I remember.
Oh, you're kidding! You're on the way to the hospital, and he was born.
My wife gave birth to him in the car.
Oh my God!
We're going down to the 405 freeway. Her water broke, and
oh my goodness!
Yeah, and so we were doing natural childbirth. We took it to an extreme limit, very natural.
Yeah, right.
No, we were on our way to the midwifery. And we pulled into the parking space. I thought I made it. I was going to escort my wife in. I opened up the door and out he came.
Wow.
Oh my.
You hear about this all the time where policemen deliver babies or cab drivers deliver babies in the back of a car, but I didn't ever know anybody that went through that experience. Oh my goodness.
I'm a retired deputy sheriff, but my wife did all the work. The baby came out. I'm like, you wait here. I'll go.
I better go get somebody.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh my God! What were you panicking when that happened? Like you're seeing your son just
appear
come out before you?
Yeah.
Like, how did that feel?
I'd freak.
It happened so quick. It was just I knew we were fine because the baby was healthy and I mean obviously right there the nurse practitioners were right there like instantly.
Okay.
And what hospital was this? We'll give him a.
This is August Alexander.
Oh, there's more. Okay, they got
born in August. How much? We got 2 hours in this meeting?
Yeah, exactly. How many kids you got? Jeez.
How many other kids are coming out here? Yeah. That's awesome.
So this is August Alexander. I'll give you a clue. The month he was born was August.
August.
Yeah.
Alexander we liked, and we went with the A theme. All the boys have my middle name of Allen. So August Alexander Allen, or Triple A because he's number 3.
Triple A, yeah. So when you meet everybody, when he sits in class, do they always say August Alexander? I mean, do they just say Augie or whatever? I don't know.
We use both names, but if people want to, some people just call him August, but we use the full names for the kids.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Such
my word.
We're not the middle name.
Such
one more, number 4.
Oh my goodness, we got 4. How many more have we got? The show's over already here.
Yeah.
Say hi.
How are you, buddy?
Hi.
Hi. And who is this?
This is Dallas Zachariah.
Ooh.
So Dallas, we like the name Dallas. D is the 4th letter of the alphabet, and of course Zachariah.
Hi. Yeah, hi, buddy.
Z being the last letter of the alphabet, so he is our 4th and last.
Yeah, you think so? We got more time here. Come on,
we got more time, so make a few more.
And next one you have, you're gonna have to name him. You're gonna have to name him Dr. Trinh because you were on the Dr. Trinh show here. You're on.
No, that is it. So
that'd be his 2 names,
right,
Doctor and Trinh. Hey, buddy.
Go play. Okay.
I love it. Okay. I love it.
So
my parents just called me a dung because I was kind of a crappy kid.
I didn't want to go there, but
like this kid looks crappy. He looks like a proctologist. There you go.
All right. So let's start with who Alan Manour is. Give us a quick rundown and background, then I want to talk about the labyrinth of water districts.
Go get one. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, hold on, Daddy's on the meeting. You can go do that.
No worries, Alan. I love it.
Oh, okay. I told you.
That's all right.
I love it. I love it.
The world we live in.
My wife had another meeting this morning, so I'm with the kids.
That's okay.
Yeah. So water is an interesting issue. It's its own. It's got its politics. It's got its obviously all the technology and all that. Pete, you're right. People turn on the water faucet and expect water just to come out automatically.
That's
It's
it.
not that simple.
That's it.
Same with electricity, and then we see the power outages, and then there's got to be more to it.
Yeah, and then people are pissed off. Then people are upset
so
when it doesn't come out, when it doesn't work the way it is. So today we can educate people how it works, but let's start with you. Who are you, and how did you get into this?
So I'm currently a Costa Mesa City Council member.
Okay.
I'm in my third term, non-consecutive. I did, was it 2 terms, 2002 to 2010. Then I'm retired deputy sheriff. I was with the sheriff's department for 16 years. And then I decided to run for city council. So after city council, I decided to run for state assembly. I was in the state legislature for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I decided to run for city council again. So I have a wide range of experience and that I bring to the table. And so
have you been in water? I thought,
and living life, enjoying life, and trying to make a difference in the world.
And I thought have you ever served on a water board before? Because you're running for one of the water boards here. Have you ever been involved in water before?
I have not served.
I got it.
Okay, I want you to go to the table.
I love it.
You can use that. You can, yes, you can. Yeah. Okay. One moment, please.
That's all right.
Yeah, no worries. And I think Alan was also former mayor of Costa Mesa as well.
Usually they rotate through those, yeah. If you're a city council person, you get to be mayor at some point, yeah. Wow, these kids are ready and raring to go at 8 a.m. this morning here. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, feel free to hold them, Alan, while you talk. Perfectly fine.
I'm sorry, Dr. Deaton. Sorry.
No worries.
Well, anybody who says this isn't real radio hasn't watched this morning, because this is real as it gets here. We're
this is real radio and Facebook Live.
That's it. We're doing everything we can here this morning. So,
well, and I know Dr. Trinh. Expect the unexpected on anything
he's a doctor. He can handle anything.
You asked if I served on the water board. No, not specific. I have not specifically served on a water board, so this will be a new experience.
All right, so let's see if we can get this out of the way quickly, because we could spend the whole show talking about it. But give us an overview: which water district you're running, and give us an overview of how the water flows in California. It comes from the Metropolitan Water District, which grabs it from a couple places, disseminates it to all these crazy boards, some of which are private, some of which are city-owned, some of which are districts. All this crazy confluence of things makes the water come out. So give us a quick idea of where you're running and how the whole thing flows together.
It is complex, and you gave a good overview on the starting points of it. And I guess it depends on which where you live, where you get your water from.
Right.
Because obviously the Colorado River is a source for many agencies, local cities, but and we get some water from there. We are fortunate, at least in the north part of the county, to have an aquifer underneath us, and we have a groundwater replenishment system, which is just amazing technology.
Right.
But to answer your question, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say quickly, that's one of the first things that shocked me. The county of Orange, 3 million people here. The south part of the county where I live, there's no water in the ground. None. And so we get 100% of it, nearly. Some of it we recapture and reuse, but most of it we get from somewhere else, which is either the Colorado River from far, far away, or up north in the Delta. And it comes all the way down this, open trench from up north. In the north part of the county, they do have some water in the ground, and you guys have been pumping water back into the ground to replenish the aquifer. We'll talk about that as well. But again, how does the water system set up? The Irvine Ranch has a district, and the little tiny ones like Trabuco has a little tiny one, and there's big ones and little ones, and some of them are publicly owned, some of them are privately owned. It's crazy.
Right. It is complex. So I'll keep it simple. So we do have a local water district, Mesa Water District, Mesa Consolidated Water District.
Right.
But the position I'm running for is a county agency. The acronym is MWDOC, MODOC,
right.
Municipal Water District of Orange County. And it's one of 2 county water agencies. But MODOC basically is a water importer, wholesaler that will then sell it to the local water agencies like Mesa Water and other local agencies.
I got it. So you buy it on behalf of everybody, and then you sell it, and you distribute. You're a wholesaler. You acquire it somewhere, and then you disseminate it to all these districts.
That's basically what MODOC does. Then you have the Orange County Water District, which manages the aquifer below us and the groundwater replenishment system. I actually took a tour of the groundwater replenishment system years ago, and it's just amazing what can be done. So it is literally our wastewater that we flush down the toilet that goes through numerous processes over time, and not necessarily in this order, but obviously the first thing is to separate the waste from the solids,
Right.
go through a filtration system.
To get the dung
There's
out, to get all the dung,
osmosis, there's exposure.
to get the dung out of the way.
Exposure to the sun. At some point, it's filtered through the ground. And yes, then it's to fill the aquifer. We take more out of the aquifer than we have. And if you take too much out, the seawater would fill in, and we don't want that. So you have to keep it full. You have to keep water in there. So at some point it's pumped back out, and it goes through another filtration system. And of course, then it goes to your tap, and it's clean as can be.
All right. So let's stop there for a second. All right. So MODOC acquires it. The Orange County Water Board manages this aquifer, but they don't sell the water to the districts. That's MODOC's role, is to acquire this. And where do you acquire it? Just from those two sources, the Colorado River and from up north? Or what about things like the Poseidon Project in Huntington Beach, where they're going to try and take seawater and turn it into drinkable water?
Yeah, well, that's a potential source. It's not up and running yet.
Right.
But yes, the Colorado River is a source, and that may be more of a source for North County than more of a source of water for South County than North. We may get some agencies here may get some from the Colorado River, but I think we try to rely as much as we can on our own because it would be less expensive.
Okay. All right. So
that wastewater that gets cleaned up, what happens? What do you do with that?
you're talking about the replenishment program where they take it and put it back in the ground?
The waste part of it, I'm sure it gets treated,
Right.
and that's a great question. I don't have a direct answer for you. I'm sure it gets processed and treated. Maybe it goes, I'm sure they cooperate with the sand district for proper disposal and treatment.
Well, and I'll interject a little bit. I'm going to show off a little bit because we've done lots of shows through the years on water, and I'm trying to understand this. The aquifer, the water in the ground replenishment program for the north part of the county. Again, the South County has no water in the ground, so forget it. But the north part does have some well water, and they replenish it. And a good point, if they don't, then the seawater will come in and move into that groundwater and contaminate it with salt. The theory was that if they put the wastewater, they take some of the stuff out of the wastewater, obviously, kind of like what they do in the irrigation systems, those purple pipes or whatever. They make it somewhat clean, but not drinkable. Then you put it in the ground, and the natural aquifer cleans this water up. It sifts through the rocks and the soil and stuff. And then they take it back out at some point and process it the third time here. But that's one phase of it. Yes, there are many phases that it goes through, and I believe filtering through the ground is one of the phases one of the processes it goes through. All right. So
does it become drinkable again?
Yes.
Or not really?
Yeah,
exactly.
Once it's filtered through all the different processes, it becomes our drinking water. Absolutely.
So it could have originated as wastewater and then eventually go through the process to become drinking water?
Yes.
It is wastewater. It is the water that is literally flushed down people's toilets and it goes down the sink.
And
yes.
But Paul's in South County, so he has to buy this water.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So what you're saying is that if I went to go pee, Paul could be drinking my pee later on.
Yes. After it goes through.
No, I think that I'm pretty confident that would be filtered out.
Oh, really?
It's a three-step process. So they take the waste and they process it and get it somewhat purified. You still can't drink it. And they stick it in the ground. Mother Nature, as it sifts through the years and years, the rocks and the dirt, that cleans some of it up again, takes more of the stuff out. And then they pull it out again at some point out of the well and treat it a third time to make it totally drinkable. That's my understanding of it.
So I have a non-water question for you guys. Maybe it's a technical question for my wife. I logged into the Zoom meeting.
Yes.
It has my daughter's name on there
It does.
instead of my name.
It does.
It's perfect. We love it. We love Avalon Jane.
I'm going to introduce my wife.
Wow. Okay, we
My wife.
got everybody here. How are you? And what's her double name? Is that Calamity? Is that Calamity Jane or whatever? What's her double name here?
It's Jennifer.
Well, her name is not Jennifer. It's Jennifer. Janniffer. Jennifer.
Because her parents just had to make it unique here, right?
She is
Yeah.
half Vietnamese. She's half Vietnamese and half American. Is that right, Jennifer?
We got a delay going on here. I think.
Yes, Vietnamese, Lithuanian, Croatian.
And I'm half Egyptian, half Swedish. So
Vietnamese,
I'm sorry?
Lithuanian, Croatian. There's three that don't normally come together here.
Wait, really? I forgot the Lithuanian.
Wow, Lithuanian. And we'll have a geography test later on the show if anybody can identify where Lithuania is.
But
One of the
you know
three
the best
Baltic
part?
countries. Yeah.
The best part of Jennifer is the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the awesome part.
I love the Lithuanian part. That just sounds unique here. Or Croatian, both of them. All right, let's get back
and
to...
my dad is from Egypt. My mother's from Sweden. So the kids are they're multinational. I guess.
Wow, you're the epitome of
All American.
multiculturalism exactly here. All right, let's get back to water here again. Okay, so we figured out where it comes from. Why are you running for MODOC? Who wants to serve on the board of MODOC? This wholesaler, this acquirer of water. Why is that an important position?
Hey, I love a new challenge. You know, my goal would be to obviously to make sure the water quality is safe and clean. That would be a number one priority, and keep prices low. I mean, we hear government agencies raising prices and things going up in cost. I want to make sure it stays affordable and low priced. The other thing I bring to the table, I think with my experience, you know, in law enforcement, city council, local government, the state legislature, I think I bring a good amount of knowledge, and I bring conservative oversight, which I think is important. I've always had an open door policy, and I want to bring that atmosphere, open door policy, and good transparency to the water board. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist with the existing people,
but you want to ensure it stays that way. You want to keep it that way.
That's my goal.
All right, so, and I know there's a slight delay every time I ask you a question here, so I'll try and talk slower. When does this election held? Is this on November, the first Tuesday in November with all the elections? Or is it a special election? And who gets to vote for it? Everybody in Orange County?
No. Well, it's a county agency, but the district that I'm running in is most of Costa Mesa, Huntington Beach, Seal Beach, and a little bit of Newport Beach near Hoag Hospital, Superior area.
Okay. So they elect people by district, and then each of these districts represents, they've divided the county up into these water districts somehow, and there are what, 5 or 6 or 8 of them? How many positions?
Five.
Five.
Similar to Board of Supervisors. It's a county board, but it's broken up into 5 districts in the county.
Okay. All right, and last question, then I'll let Dr. Trinh, because I know he really wants to jump in and ask you a bunch of them. I'm just trying to get the overview. So we know who you are, where you came from. We know all about your kids and your crazy ethnic mixture here, everybody combined together here. What is it we don't know about Alan that you want to get across this morning? What is it that, aside from the fact you're running from this obscure, unknown, but very important water board that buys and sells the water to all these different districts and oversees so many important aspects of it. What is it that we don't know about you that you want to get across?
Wow. Right before an election season? I don't know if I want to give
I mean, you know, this is your chance. This is your little stump speech. Give us, you know, other than your conservative views and your extensive experience, you know, what is it? What is your passion? What's your purpose? What is it that people are going to say, hey, that's my guy?
I love serving the community. I really do. I'm really a quiet, shy to myself person. So this, you know, being in elected office obviously takes you out of your shell, and you have to, you know, engage. And I love it. I love being responsive to people. When people email me or call me, I personally respond back, and I I enjoy it. I want to help people. I like it when they get an answer to their concern or their problem. And I always tell people, if I can't find the answer, if I don't have the answer for you, I will find it. I will find someone who knows it. I've just been exposed to so many people, so many issues, that I have a lot of resources, and I generally know where to find the issue. I just call Dr. Trinh.
He knows everybody. All right, Dr. Trinh, I've been dominating the conversation, but I wanted to get the basic overview out of who he was and what this crazy thing is he's running for and how it works. You must have lots of health questions this morning, or your audience must have lots of health questions about water. Water is so vital. It's the key to life.
Very vital. This is why I wanted to bring Alan on board, because to chat about this, because water and the safety of our water and what's in our tap water when you turn it on is very important, right? When you talk about health. And good morning, Grace and Letty and Hang, Cecilia. Good morning, Dan. A bunch of people on Facebook here. But it's something we take for granted, water, right? When we go to third world countries, when I'm in Vietnam or Haiti or Peru, and we do our missions work with tongue out, the greatest issue in these other countries is clean, drinkable water. And I remember, good morning, Maddie. And
Can I for 1 second? The statistic I heard, the quote I heard, because a year or two ago it was like Year of the Water. The United Nations had some like Year of the Water when they did some shows with us, and the quote was something like, "More people have access to a cell phone than clean, drinkable water around the world." That blows my mind.
Yes, that's probably accurate. You know, it was probably about 3 years ago. We were in Haiti, and our medical team was in Haiti. And every time we're there, we work at the orphanages. We do these pop-up medical clinics with our tongue out team. We have our doctors, our nurses, and our high schoolers are with us. But to do medical work in Haiti, you need translators, right? Mm-hmm. That will come alongside and help you translate. And we had a team of translators that we knew for years because they've been with us for a long time. And I remember one of my translators, just working with him. He's an older folks, probably in his 50s or so. And he wasn't looking that great himself as he was translating. But, you know, this is Haiti. So right. It's like, you know, and then we came home. The team went home, said bye to our translators, and we're like, we'll see you in a few months. We're usually in Haiti twice a year. And a week after I came home from Haiti, I got word that our translator died. The same guy we were working with a week prior, and I'm like, wow, what happened? It was bad water.
Wow. Bad
water. Yeah, he got cholera infection out of it, and it just really brings back home to me the importance of having what we take for granted in the United States, right. And in Orange County, right? You turn on the tap and there's water, right? And you can drink from that water. The rest of the world cannot do that. The rest of the world cannot turn on the tap and there's water. And in Vietnam, we've dug wells in Vietnam and different things to provide water. But Alan, the position you are running for in this county, water board is such an important position because it's something we all take for granted, right? The value of having water that is affordable, the value of having water that is clean, and you don't have to worry about what you're drinking, right, coming out of your tap.
Well, let's talk about one other thing here too, and I don't know how deep he wants to get into this because we only got about 15-20 minutes to go here. I know we got a lot of more health issues we want to answer, but our system is more fragile than we think it is. Again, Orange County, on the whole, doesn't have much water in the ground, or any water in the south part of the county. So we have to import. All these 3 million people have to drink the water from somewhere else. There shouldn't be 3 million people living here. It's a coastal plain. It's almost a desert. It's an arid area. and yet we've continued to grow and do all this stuff here. And we just assume that somehow there'll always be water there. And yet we rely on just a couple of sources to get this, and it comes from a long way to get here. And all of that, one break in the aqueduct, one earthquake, one processing plant. I think, doesn't MoDOC run the one processing plant, or is that somebody else that runs the thing in Lake Forest where it's all processed before it's distributed?
I'd have to check on that. Quite frankly, I don't know that that's MoDOC that manages that, but I can find out for you.
Well, again, so I guess what I've learned is how fragile this thing, how easily broken it could be, particularly with earthquakes. Talk about safety and delivering clean water. What, God forbid, we have the big earthquake we've been fearing forever, and we can't get water. I don't think we could handle it. We couldn't handle like they do in Haiti or Vietnam every day, having to boil water or figure out how to get water. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's it. We need to start thinking a little more proactive for what could happen. I mean, look what happened with COVID, the pandemic, and then the fires. And some people say it's not a question of if, but when.
Right.
And so, yes, I think it's incumbent on individuals to prepare personally. Have a few days of supplies for yourself at your house. But that'd be interesting to look into contingency plans in such as for what would happen in such an emergency. But the more sources you have, the better. It's like energy.
Right.
Obviously these days we do rely on oil and coal and and
solar and wind and everything. Yeah, right.
But when you bring in solar and wind, which I support, you have more sources, but when the wind's not blowing or the sun's not shining, you don't have electricity. So there are storage issues with that. But certainly the more sources you have, the less reliant you are on one individual source. And I think the same with water. And I think we need to build up our storage capacity. That's more of a state issue, like our reservoirs. We haven't kept up with the population. And I know there are environmental concerns, and I get that, and those have to be taken seriously, but we need sufficient storage to have that water in reserve to be able to provide it for people.
Yeah, exactly.
What reservoirs do we have now for Orange County to tap into?
Not many.
Well, it's not just Orange County, it's throughout the state.
They built that giant one out past the Moreno Valley. I forgot the name of it. And that was for, I don't know who funds that or who put that together, but that was the biggest water storage that was created recently. I know the Santa Margarita Water District built some storage facilities, but most of this stuff is done very quietly. Nobody really knows about it. These tanks or reservoirs or lakes or whatever they use to fill up and do this. Like, look at what happened with the Lake Irvine. It almost got drained down during the drought the last couple of years, and then they tried to fill. I don't know if that's used as a storage or just recreation purely, but we don't think this. It doesn't seem like we have a complete plan in place to preserve and protect water in the event of a disruption in the pipelines and the aqueducts that bring it here.
I think one of the things I want to do when I'm confident, if I get elected, I shouldn't assume.
Yes.
If I get elected, I think one of the things I would like to do is see if this is available. If it's not, I would like a chart that really breaks it down and shows the public where water comes from, what different sources, what the process are,
yes, please.
So that the public has a greater understanding. I think the more simple we can make it, the easier it is for the public. I think that would be a great resource.
Can I give you even better resource than a printed? I think that's a powerful thing. You should create, and we would love to help you with this. I offer our assistance if you get to that position. You should create a podcast. I've always thought, why can't we do a water podcast? And I've talked to some of the water boards about it. And I won't tell you which ones, but a couple of them said to me, we really don't want to talk about this stuff. We kind of like it that nobody knows what we do. Nobody shows up at the meetings, and we can kind of go about our work. It's non-controversial. We just sort of fly under the radar and efficiently do it. I said, but when it goes bad, when there's a problem, you haven't built up any constituency or any awareness, and people suddenly go up in arms and come with pitchforks and say, well, get rid of everybody. How dare, the water is disrupted. The price went up. We weren't prepared. I think they should be educating and dealing with this now rather than trying to, explain it later. I think that
Count me in. I'd be happy to do a podcast. I'll go on a fact-finding mission and put my charts and graphs together and ask all the questions and make a clear roadmap that really makes it easy to understand for people to see. And I'd love to do a podcast like that.
Well, then it's a weekly explanation, and it's where people live on their smartphones, like Dr. Trinh. He's talking to people directly on Facebook here today. Let's get some of your questions in here. Anybody got any questions? I'm not looking at.
Can I address one thing also?
Yes.
The other thing, I love it when people engage and want to be involved in any number of issues, whether it's government or in their community somehow, and people ask difficult questions. I love it. You mentioned, that some people said they wanted it to be kind of, not swept under the rug, but quiet. Don't ask any questions. Just let us do our thing.
Right.
My concern, so water districts and sanitary districts are what's called special districts.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to know they are like an elected city council. They are a local government, but most people don't pay attention to these water districts, and very few people attend the meetings.
No.
So you're really putting a lot of trust in a handful of people to make sure your water is provided safely, and that's a lot of trust. And so I like to bring light to the special districts and get people involved. So anyways, I'm happy to. That's a long way of saying I'd love to do the podcast.
I think it would be a powerful, because it would start a conversation, not just a marketing piece that says here that some will see but most won't take the time to read or understand. Tell them, get them involved in a week like Dr. Trinh has with health. All right, let's talk about health. Has anybody got any questions, Dr. Trinh? We're rapidly going through the labyrinth of confusion and issues here, but I don't know if we've addressed anybody's questions.
Unraveling everything about water and how Orange County gets it, and
it's complicated.
And if you guys on Facebook are like me, I have no clue where I get my water. I just turn on the tap water and it's there.
Right.
And so this is really fascinating.
All right,
Dan has a question. He says, why do water bills vary in cities of South County?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I know some of the answers, but go ahead. We're talking to the man who's in the middle of this.
It was a little broken. The question was, why do water bills vary in different South County cities?
Yes.
Well, so I think the short answer is different water agencies in different cities get their water from different sources. So you're going to have different sources are going to cost different amounts of money. And so the rates are set by the local agencies. Maybe they have different operating expenses, so they have to charge more. But there could be a number of reasons like that.
I'll give you another reason.
Generally, it's imported water that they have.
I'll give you another reason that came up the people were shocked about. A year or two ago, we're in the middle of this drought, right? Everybody's asked to cut back, mandatory cutbacks, or voluntary cutbacks. And yet, the minute we cut back the water districts had to raise the price because they have, in a certain sense, even though they're not a for-profit business, most of them, some are, they have, if they're selling less water, then they can't cover their costs. So they have to raise the cost so on the one hand, they're saying cut back on the water, but because we're not going to sell you as much and make as much, we got to raise the price. That was a bizarre double shock that everybody got.
Well, ironically, if we're using less water, we're putting less water into the groundwater replenishment system as well.
Right.
Wow.
There isn't always an easy answer.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, let's talk again about health. I'll give you a couple ones that you may not know about, but I'll throw them out, ones that have come to us. Let's talk about stuff in our water. There are certain mandated federal guidelines of how much, and people are shocked. It's like, how much rat hair can you have in your hot dog? There is a certain amount of bad stuff that is allowed in the water, and the water districts always try and meet or exceed those standards. What's MODOC's position on that? Do you guys just try and meet federal standards that you send to water, or do you try and exceed the standards? And if so, any thoughts on where that's all headed? Are we going to get lower standards, tougher standards? I don't know.
Jennifer, I lost Jennifer.
Why? We're here.
Oh, I'm calling my tech. Hold on, I'm calling my tech support.
No, we can hear you. You can talk.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just lost the picture then. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the.
So different standards.
Our daughter does the same thing.
So what are the standards? So yeah, certainly I would want the highest standards. MODOC being a wholesaler importer, I'm sure standards are checked. They're, like you said, there are federal standards, state standards, local standards maybe, but I would only want the highest standards in terms of our water quality. I don't think we are going to accept a lower quality, a lower standard. But again, transparency. If there was some situation like that, full disclosure to the public. Hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You want this higher standard, this is what it's going to cost, or this is
Exactly.
what we're able to do with the existing technology, and just be upfront with the public.
So I'll give you another one that most people don't know about. It popped up and went away. Was they were trying to create a third source, the Cadiz water project out in the desert. Somebody found a giant aquifer in the ground, and the private enterprise was going to sell this, dig the water up, and pump it to cities in Orange County or districts in Orange County. Doesn't sound like a bad idea, but one of the problems was that there is natural, I think it's chromium in the water. It's just naturally in the ground there. And chromium's not something that's good to drink. It's poisonous. It's nasty. So how much chromium, there's a little bit of chromium you can have, but that won't hurt you apparently. But, they were worried about it. And then they were transporting it on some other pipelines or something that themselves might have, I don't know if it was chromium or other sorts of things in it. And there was a whole issue about, okay, this water's out there, but it has a certain contaminant in it anyway. And should we really buy it? And what's the cost of transporting it and curing it and fixing it? Is it worth the effort? And I don't know that anybody, when Cadiz was being voted on by the various water boards, whether they're going to buy it or not, there was a flurry of ads that hit all the newspapers and the radio stations for about 3 weeks. It's the worst thing in the world. No, it's the savior of the world. And then it all went away, and I don't think two people have ever answered that question in. So any ideas on Cadiz and chromium and things like that? Is that a concern?
Obviously, if there's something that's going to be poisonous in it, I would not be too supportive of that. So
Hi, how are you?
No, I think we gotta look for clean, reliable sources that are healthy. I don't think Jennifer, trying to get my wife.
How are you, buddy?
To come assist.
All right, here's another one. How about where are you guys at with the Poseidon project? I haven't heard about that in a long time.
Yeah. So again, I apologize. 1 second.
That's okay. What I'm trying to bring up to the audience here is there are issues out there that are being decided right now about extra sources of water, and each of them has pros and cons to them, either cost or protection or safety issues or other sorts of things, and nobody's talking about them in the public. It's all being done behind closed doors. Nobody's talking.
I want to talk about them. I want to bring the issues front and center, up, out in the open. We have a hard time getting people to even keep up with what the city councils do.
Yeah. Right.
And tell people local government is where you can make the most difference, where you can have an impact, where you can get the back and forth conversation, responsiveness, hopefully from your elected officials. I mean, obviously the higher up in government, you can't necessarily get a direct answer always from your president or your state senator or your congressman. Sometimes you can get it at a town hall or something like that, but local government, you can engage regularly. So there's really an opportunity to make a difference at the local level.
Well, and the people interface with you. They're going to bump into you at the grocery store. They're going to see you at the local picnic in town and stuff. You can't run and hide. You're not off in some distant location that they can't reach you or see you. You're there in front of the public all the time.
That's right.
What happened in Flint, Michigan?
Yeah.
With that water issue back then, a few years ago. Remember Flint, Michigan?
Terrible.
What happened there, and where did they drop the ball, and how can we prevent that with what we do here?
I don't know the specifics of what happened there. I remember reading about it a while back. There was some contamination in the water, I believe.
Yeah. Terrible.
Do I want to say lack of accountability by their elected officials? Maybe. Maybe it was aging infrastructure.
That was a lot of it. Yeah.
That contributed to it. And those are serious issues. Those are issues everybody faces. Our infrastructure is old, and we have to reinvest in it. And so it's more preventative. Once you let something go for that long, it's it's hard to fix. It's better to fix it at the front end with some preventative maintenance and reinvesting in infrastructure than let it go and deteriorate so bad. So maybe their infrastructure was so old that it
Right.
That was a large part of it from what I read. And let's take a look at our infrastructure. Governor Brown controversially wanted to spend, was it billions or trillions? It was a huge dollar to rethink the California Delta and to restructure it so that the water would continue to flow out of that. And they were going to build tunnels, and they were going to build up I guess there's little islands in the middle of this delta and stuff. They were going to do all this massive stuff here. I don't know what happened with that. Because that was, the whole thing was looking ahead. His argument was it would help sustain the supply of water to the farmers up north and to the people drinking it down south here. I don't know whatever happened with that, and I don't know that anybody really decided to pull the trigger and spend that massive amount of money or not. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know they need to. I know they need to do something with the levees.
Yeah, right.
The levees are old, and you're going to have extreme flooding and loss of water,
right,
and loss of life if they don't upgrade the levees, and that takes a lot of money. And most people don't really. It's not what some might say is a sexy political issue that we're going to do all these great things for you, and it's not education. But it's basic infrastructure that needs to be funded, and I don't believe they're funding it at a sufficient level.
Because who wants to pay to today for something that might happen tomorrow? So we all put it off. The bridges, the roads, the levees, how about the aqueduct? I don't know when's the last time the aqueduct it's this open trench that runs from Northern California all the way down south here, or the open trenches that bring the water from Colorado River. I always wonder how much of it evaporates along the way here. Isn't there a more efficient way we could be delivering the water that far?
There probably are. Those are more state issues, and certainly I would be an advocate for those issues. But those votes are made by the legislature and decided by the governor as well.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to get those things passed in the legislature, unfortunately.
No, because it's dollars today for something that might help tomorrow, and that's always let's put it off. Let's kick it down the road here. Well,
kind of like the national deficit, right?
National deficit, right? Yeah, let's run it up again and let our kids handle it. Yeah, right.
Somebody's going to pay for it later.
Yeah, no, I think so. No, I think we're headed towards one of this. Look what happened with power. The power went out in South County a while ago here. We're not a third world country. We don't expect the power to go out, but the grid is being overtaxed and overloaded, and they were getting sued because when it got really hot, these wires would start sparking, and the brush was so ready to burn that one little spark from some overhead line, and suddenly they started that one fire in Northern California, and Pacific I don't know if it was PG&E or whoever had to file bankruptcy because the lawsuit was so massive. There's all these interwoven issues. It's a very complex thing that brings us power and brings us water, and we never think about it until it goes wrong.
That's right. So preventative medicine, and those are excellent questions. And I would want to dig really deep if I get on that board. So I will be asking.
Well, we need a digger. We need somebody who's going to not only dig and get some answers, but will communicate them back to the public, even a public that by and large doesn't care until it goes wrong. We've got to find a way to make people interested in these topics.
I'm happy to do that, and I'd love to do a podcast with you on that.
What do you think, Dr. Trinh? You think people tune into a water podcast? No. Who wants to listen about water every week?
Oh, we can spend anything to have interest in it, especially when when folks realize how important and integral water is to our daily lives that
Yeah.
we simply just take for granted.
Yeah, especially here. What about your audience? Would they be interested in this topic? I know I've been doing what I don't normally do. I've been sort of driving an agenda here because I know it's a very complicated issue, and I've been very frustrated through the years how little of this gets talked about in anyway.
Yeah, well, Cecilia says, "Oh dear, hope all is well from Canada." So, they're like, "Good luck, guys."
Yeah, good luck. She's gone to Canada. Peace out.
Maybe think Canadian water there.
I'll tell you a funny story. Is I'm from Michigan, and Michigan is in the Great Lakes state, right? And next to Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, as it says on their license plates. We paid more for water back there than you do out here, and I never could understand why. Water is so prevalent; it's everywhere. Everybody has wells. There's lakes everywhere, and yet I don't know if it was just bad management or whatever, or aging infrastructure. I think that's part of it. But we paid more for water. Still do. They still pay more than we pay already a low price, and here we are in basically a desert bringing water in. And trying to save every precious drop. I think it's amazing what the districts do, and they should be applauded for the extra efforts that they put into keeping it safe and reliable and pretty cheap by and large.
I wonder if I'm wondering if in certain parts of the state there, a lot of people have their own well water. Maybe they have less people to sell it to, therefore the rates have to be higher.
That could be. I never thought of that.
I don't know. Well, maybe there are many reasons for it, not just one.
I think you probably hit one because a lot of us had wells back there, because the water is so prevalent.
Dan Daly says an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Boy, isn't that
Cecilia says dehydration causes wrinkles. Lawton says we can survive without oil, but not water.
Yeah.
Wow. Deep. Very true.
Well, there was a famous quote. I don't know who said it, but it was kind of in Mark Twain's day. Maybe it was Mark Twain. Said, out west here, liquors for drinking and waters for fighting over. We've been fighting over water and water rights for years because we have so many people. Look from Las Vegas is trying to claim more of the water upstream from Colorado. The Colorado River has gotten to record lows, and Lake Mead and all those things that are giant reservoirs are at record lows, partly because we're sucking more out of it and partly because nature's putting less into it. Nobody's talking about any of this stuff, and we're going to have some big water wars and water fights if we don't pay attention to this stuff. That's my thinking.
You guys have all watched Mad Max, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So is Mad Max going to happen if Alan doesn't get elected?
I think so. I think that's a real possibility.
Right? We're gonna load up and fight over water. I'm gonna get my car and start, weaponizing my car.
Yeah, to get an ounce of water. Yeah, a little more.
Right.
No, it's crazy. It really is. We got to wrap up because we got another show coming here. I'm sorry if I kind of dominated the discussion here today, but I was trying to drive the point that this is complicated. It's confusing, and most people haven't a clue how fragile and how worrisome our whole water supply is, really, here in Southern California.
And you got our support, Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Anybody who's willing to look into this.
I'm not sure I can vote for you. I don't live in the city. I have to drive down there, Huntington Beach, and I don't know. No.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say: vote early and vote often. No, I'm just kidding. All right. How do they reach you if they want to find out more information? Give us your quick website, and then we got to cut you off here.
AlanMansour.com, and my email is alan@alanmansour.com.
And Mansour is
happy to assist in any way I can. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out.
And Mansour is Monsour?
Mansoor.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I asked.
Alan's 2L, right? 2L?
Yes, ALLAN.
All right.
ALLAN Mansour. MONSS.
He's saying MAN.
MAN.
MANSOOR.
Mansour.
And the X is silent. You don't pronounce the Y.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming on. I hope you'll come back, and we got to leave it there. Another talk with Dr. Trin.
Bring a few extra kids next time when you're back.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
More, right?
He's
No.
got
Or
more.
is it? That is
Oh,
it.
that's it.
That-
Oh,
that's
okay,
it.
all right.
That's it.
Come on. All right, thanks.
Laugh.
Take
Thanks.
care, Alan.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
God bless. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to another great show of Dr. Trin's Health Talks right here in Orange County's only community radio station, octalkradio.net.